Welcome to the second part of our interview with Dylan Ratigan, who's running for the New York's 21st District under the slogan, "We Can Fix This." He's an award-winning journalist and a straight talker, and right now we're going to ask him about unions and what he thinks. So I thought I had a big idea after Trump won. My big idea was, why don't we try to unionize all the Walmart workers in California? Because I think the problem with Amazon is unions, and the problem with Walmart is union. The problem with our country right now is that, again, the workers have no power. And we're decimating unions, and Barack Obama never put on that soft shoe. And right now we're seeing unions that are majority women standing up and being the strength of workers, not only for themselves, but for janitors and cafeteria workers and all kinds of people. It's a majority women union standing up, and they are winning right now in red states. So why do you think unions haven't organized places like Walmart and Amazon? I know it's unbelievably difficult, and we all know what Walmart did to the meat packers in Texas when they unionized. They just got rid of meatpacking in Texas, which was a big threat to everybody else who wanted to unionize. But I think that would make such a big difference in a world. That is just as big as Medicare for all. And what do you think about that, and do you think we could do it?
We have to do it. The only way forward is to resurrect the leverage of labor in order to recapture their value that they are creating in this country. The labor force in this country has been looked at as a liability to be managed and destroyed rather than an asset that is the foundation of our national security. The only institution in the country that represents the interest of human beings is labor unions, or are labor unions. Those unions were deliberately destroyed in the interest of capital, in the interest of money. And the only way back to repair our broken politics and repair this country is to continue to revive, reform, and rebuild organized labor in a vision of the 21st century, in a way that can truly defend the human beings that are at the foundation of everything that happens every day in this country. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know specifically whether your Walmart strategy is the best path. I don't know enough about it, but I do know, Jimmy, that there is a path every day to increase the degree to which labor has rights in this country in order to negotiate with capital in a way that is not nearly as abusive as where we are right now. And in fact, the liabilities we have right now are a direct result of that abuse. And part of foundation to reforming our broken politics is the support and the engagement and the reform of organized labor in order to do that.
That's good to hear. How do we get the trillions of dollars that is parked off in offshore banks back into the United States so we can use it for our infrastructure development and for real long-term jobs without giving more unreasonable tax breaks?
I mean, there are 1,000 ways you could do it. It's the political will of the leadership to allow it to happen. It'd be very simple to fund an infrastructure bank using the offshore accounts in a way that also allows students to get their student debt.
So I've heard you talk about this before.
It's easily accomplished, but there's not the political positioning to do it, which is part of the reason why I'm now running for office, as part of beginning to create the political leverage to initiate those types of policies, which are foundational to our security and the fairness of this country going forward.
So now, you're a great economic reporter, and you can really explain stuff to people in a clear way. And so when the banking meltdown happened, the big problem afterwards with the bailout and they did quantitative easing is that money didn't trickle back down to people who needed it to finance building or projects. My brother's in construction, and he couldn't get a loan to finance any jobs that he was offered. And so what they were doing was hoarding the money and balancing their books with the quantitative easing instead of putting it into our economy like they were supposed to.
Yes, that's true.
So why don't we have state banks, why don't we, and how can we get state-run banks? They have one, I think, in North Dakota. Gail McLaughlin's recommending one here in California. Do you think that's a solution?
I think it's part of a solution, whether it's state banks or community banks. At the foundation of it, though, Jimmy, is the central bank, the Federal Reserve, and the large, massive financial institutions, until they have a true incentive to drive their investment and their lending out into the American economy, as opposed to pulling it and consolidating it and spinning it in these money wheels inside of this digital game that they play in New York and in London and in Tokyo, it's going to be an uphill battle. So yes, you need the community banks. Yes, you need the state banks, but you also need a federal and international banking policy that directly incentivizes community lending and investment for those banks, which is why they are given access to taxpayer money through the Federal Reserve in the first place. It's the reason that we created the policies that benefit bank holding companies, is because of the expectation that the banks serve a critical function. They are the circulatory system of money in our economy. And if they are not circulating money in our economy, they are extracting it from our economy. And it's as if the very medicine that you want, that you need so desperately, turns into a poison that kills you. It's not that you don't want to have a banking system. A banking system is the foundation of any economy. You need a banking system, but you need a banking system that drives investment and lending into communities. And that starts at the federal level with banking policy, and a policy that is a coordinated effort of tax policy, as well as capital requirements and incentives for the use of lending and funding that goes into actual project work rather than into churning and speculation inside of the capital markets.
So couldn't the U.S. have saved all the foreclosed homes in 2009 by simply allowing owners to go into the bond market for low-interest, fully amortized loans over 15 to 25 years, as has been done in the past with VA properties?
Of course. I mean, my strong recommendation at the time of the financial crisis was not that we give free money to the giant banks to clear up their balance sheets while they do nothing for anybody else, but rather, if you're going to extend an infinite line of credit to the economy in order to stabilize it, much better to make that line of credit widely available, 2% financing to all qualifying borrowers across the entire spectrum, from residential mortgages to refinancing personal credit to refinancing auto credit. Once you decide you're going to take the extreme measure of unrestricted lending, which we did in 2008, to do so selectively for the benefit of those who finance the government at the direct expense of everybody else in the economy, is one of the most abusive and destructive policies that has ever been put forth in this country. And it was done, I hate to say it, under Barack Obama. And it was created originally, the problem was created under originally both the trade and the banking policies in the late 90s under Bill Clinton. And so this is not a single party issue. Yes, the Republicans have participated and encouraged much of this, but let us not kid ourselves. It was the Democratic Party that created the trade and banking policies in the 90s, and it was the Democratic Party that oversaw the selective issuance of credit, the selective issuance of lending to the large financial institutions at the expense of every other person in this country. And it has been an absolute disaster. And by the way, it is part of what is the significant foundation of the protest vote we saw in 2016,
yes,
that not only supported Bernie Sanders, but that ultimately elected Donald Trump president. The ignorance and the refusal to acknowledge how abusive that was, to walk around pretending that the lies that have been surrounding the party establishment could be perpetuated in this way, is something that has brought unto us an incredibly dangerous government right now that basically is a blunt object that was thrown in rational behavioral economics to call no mas, to say no more to the abuse that has been put against the American people. They wanted healthcare under Barack Obama, universal healthcare. You know what they got? A forced mandate to buy private insurance from an unreformed private health insurance monopoly that's still attached to their jobs. It was insulting. They want a real banking policy that actually drives into this country and creates investment in lending. And when the government had the leverage to create that, did they do it? No, they did not. They created infinite credit for large financial institutions and nothing for the rest of the country while perpetuating these bad trade deals. It's why there's so much frustration in this country, Jimmy, and it's why we have to move through the frustration, and we have to look at these problems as valuable only insofar as they can point us in the direction of a solution. The solution is obvious. We need direct lending and investment into our economy. We need a trade policy that doesn't empower extraction and cheating and destruction of work in our country. We have to be honest about the fact that the world has changed, that there has been a shift, and that shift means that there are going to be an abundant number of new jobs as we move industry away from fossil fuels to a global network of renewable power. That's a huge economic opportunity, and it's one we have to seize. It's about looking for what we can do as opposed to getting stuck in the quagmire of the problems, which are so incredibly discouraging and can lead to paralysis and the inability to move forward. And we can't afford that right now because the world is shifting too quickly, and the opportunity to create the lending, create the investment, to create the health opportunity, to health access, to create the local education, to reform our banking policy, to reform the way we deal with the Middle East in a way that's honest is upon us. But we have to step into public and say it out loud to each other and begin the process of having the dialogue about how we together are going to fix this, not to invoke the slogan, but that's really what this comes down to, is how do we create the lending and the access? We know we don't have the lending and the access. We know we have bad trade policies. We know we have a healthcare system that's attached to our jobs with a private health insurance system that is abusive to all of us. We know all of those things. The only thing we have to figure out is how we continue to organize an effort to reform and create what we want.
So what steps would you take to rebalance the economy by driving capital directly to the 50% in poverty who are on the margins?
You have no choice but to create direct access to lending and direct project finance. Again, you have to look district by district. I can tell you about New York 21. Our capacity to produce massive amounts of renewable power that can be sold into Montreal and in New York City is incredible. That's an incredible employment boom. That's an incredible amount of money that comes in. That's also great for the district, great for job creation, and great for climate change, by the way. Those are real things that can create real money that move through these economies. We need to move the farming and the food business to more local farms. As you know, I'm one of the strongest investors and advocates around the move away from centralized farming, Jimmy, into localized farming. We need to resurrect and support the local farms in New York 21 in a way that allows them to create the vibrancy and deliciousness that's only available when you have that type of an environment. And that's something that can be done everywhere. When you look at what we want, we know what we want. We want renewable power. We want local farms. We want cheap, affordable, accessible healthcare. It's about creating those things with what we have. It's about taking our best assets. In the case of New York 21, it is our agriculture. It is our wellness industry. It is our renewable power generation capacity, and making the best of those things in a way that creates pride, purpose, and an opportunity to generate the leverage to lean back against the abusive policies that are a function of our broken politics.
Well, listen, you've been very generous with your time, Dylan, and I appreciate you taking time for our show. I just remember when you went on a very famous rant about the banks on MSNBC, and, Ed Schultz has come out this week, and he's revealing that how managed his show was on MSNBC by Phil Griffin personally. And are you at liberty to talk about any of your experiences at MSNBC? Or
Sure.
So after you went on that rant, and let me just show a little bit of it right here.
I'm not here to talk about plans to deal with this till 2017. I'm saying we've got a real problem, and I'm tired of Republicans and Democrats who either want Republicans who want to burn the place to the ground, and Democrats, with all due respect, who want to offer a plan that gets it through their end of their second term of their presidency, and then screws me and my kids when it's over. And until we do that, we have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact. Tens of trillions of dollars are being extracted from the United States of America. Democrats aren't doing it. Republicans are not doing it. An entire integrated system, financial system, trading system, taxing system that was created by both parties over a period of 2 decades is at work on our entire country right now. And we're sitting here arguing about whether we should do the $4 trillion plan that kicks the can down the road for the president for 2017 or burn the place to the ground, both of which are reckless, irresponsible, and stupid. I've been coming on TV for 3 years doing this, and the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation.
So after that rant, did you get called into the office and get a talking to?
No, I did not. My experience at MSNBC, with all due respect, Jimmy, was incredible. Phil Griffin was very supportive to me. The management was very supportive to me. They never tried to alter my rhetoric in any way. I'm not saying, I have no incentive to say that to you. In other words, there's no contract, there's no agreement. I'm not looking to go back there and work. I have to be honest with you. They allowed me the platform, they gave me a staff, and they let me speak my mind. And even in the face of my most aggressive commentary, they were always there in a way that was supportive and didn't try to restrict my behavior. That was my personal experience.
Wow, that is a unique.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That is a very unique experience at MSNBC.
I'm grateful that I had it.
Not the norm.
Truly.
Well, I truly I appreciate you. You know, we've played lots of your clips on this show, and everyone who watches this show is very well aware of you. So I just want to say thanks for taking time. We wish you the best of luck, and maybe I should probably say, in all disclosure, I will probably be making a donation to Dylan's campaign. So I think you're supposed to do that as a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm a jagoff comedian. So I just want to let everybody know I'm going to do that anyway. All right, Dylan, any last words for our audience?
Listen, I am grateful for everybody's time, and I want to send a single message, which is look at the problems only insofar as they help create clarity for the solutions, and look to create momentum around those solutions. That is our best path individually and collectively as a country right now. We have a lot at risk. A lot is broken. We have got to seize the opportunity to amend our future to the one that we want to create. And that can only be done by focusing on the solutions that we can create. And that's really what I'm hoping to do with this campaign.
Dylan Ratigan, the real deal. We can fix this is his motto. He's running for New York's 21st district. Good luck to you, buddy. Thanks for coming on the show. Hope to see you again soon.
Likewise.
Please make sure you're subscribed. It only takes a second. Make sure you're subscribed and click that bell so they give you a notice whenever we drop a video. And if you can become a patron, we give you hours of bonus material every week. Our next live show is June 30th in Portland, Oregon. And we do a super solid chat every Saturday. That's our live stream. You can ask us questions and we answer back. That's Saturdays at 2 p.m. Pacific. Plus, we're on Steam It. We're steaming it right now.